starting now. Any more conversations will wind up in the show. This is why it's...
Make sure we're not discussing anything embarrassing like my rash.
Why do you have to do that? We're having an important conversation that didn't get recorded, and now they think we're talking about something entirely different. Okay then. Well, since this is for those of you who don't know, it's very likely this is probably going to be the last show of the year. There was supposed to be an iWorld done last week. Mr. Bit, I'm assuming, is way too busy to even have time to mess with it, and he was saying it was iffy if he was going to be free for that anyways. We canceled this week's Linux. Next week's Thanksgiving. Then we're getting into the holiday rush, yada yada yada, so forth. I'm in the middle of 8 kinds of chaos. Why some of us have free time, some of us don't. It's doubtful whether or not any time in this calendar year we're going to get to. We're just going to have fun. This show's going to be as long as it's going to be. Is there anything serious we want to discuss before we get into tinfoil hat land?
Well, Apple and Google both had big announcements today. Or, I guess today and yesterday.
I should point out, I didn't even pay attention to Apple's announcement today, and now that you've told me what it is, I'm glad I didn't. I'm sorry.
The entire world of tech enthusiasts gave a collective
What about tech enthusiasts being conflicted?
It wasn't a very interesting kind of thing. It's just...
Well, but let's be fair. As much as we love to bash Apple here and say Apple sucks, and and I sometimes wonder if Mac heads have had their forebrain removed. The one thing I have learned doing this show is that there are intelligent Mac people. They do exist, and I thank them for reminding us that they exist, because I thought they were an extinct breed.
Well, they're even a large group of the people that I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. Let's be just a tiny bit fair to Apple here, in that Apple did not, do what they usually do with little tiny announcements like this. They didn't have Steve Jobs get out on stage and do all the fanfare and yada yada. It was a web announcement, and if it was any other company than Apple, it's
just still kind of weird because yesterday they put up on their front page that today was a day that we would never forget.
Oh, exactly.
And the Beatles came.
Well, we were wondering where this was going to wind up, with the death of Michael Jackson and the fact... Oh, no, wait, Michael Jackson owned Elvis, I'm sorry. Not the Beatles. Or was it the Beatles? I forget. Doesn't matter. Anyways, now the Beatles are on Sun, so you can have your yellow Submarine iPod. I can see Apple selling that, too. Except Apple doesn't like yellow. It's not, if it was the white and shiny Submarine, I would see it.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Surprised at what?
Well, that sort of that they're on. I mean, the Beatles originally tried to sue Apple.
Well, I don't know what that was. Honestly, at this point, you're committing suicide, whether it's a past archive or a current archive or whatever, if you're taking the stance, I don't want it online, I don't want it in digital form, you're committing Harry Carey. It's like, I hate Apple. This does not mean I would not publish stuff to iTunes. I am going to piss and moan and bitch and rant about the fact that I can't do it from a Linux machine, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. Because I understand millions of people have iPods. There are idiots in the world that think iTunes is the end-all only source for music. I have Linux. I understand that there are many, many, many other places for music, TV, show, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, I don't know.
Google
Yeah, you were telling me that too. That's I'm like, you know, it's what's so funny about that is, I will say this. I'm glad Apple, you know, took their the whole world must flow through the iWorld hats off enough to allow all the applications that allow cross-platform video chat. Because I mean, the reality is, you're better if you have if you use FaceTime, you can only talk with the iWorld. If you use every other mobile video chat application, you can talk with the iWorld and the rest of the people on the mobile internet, which is a good thing. I actually love this ad. I know it's a dead ripoff of the the PC v Mac ads. But have you seen that T-Mobile ad, even though I don't really like T-Mobile? Yeah. It's like, hi, I have an iPhone. Like, what's that on your back? Well, that's the AT&T network. Surprise, I pray. You know, it's like, that is what it is. It's like, I've been laying off of bashing on that because, honestly, at this point, we don't know how much of that is Apple and how much of that is AT&T being AT&T. But we don't have enough hard facts, and really the only people that know are the higher wigs in Apple and the higher wigs in AT&T.
Hold on a second over here.
Okay. Maybe he'll get rid of the echo. But yeah, it's... I don't know on that. But it is sick. What's the other thing? Like, every Evo commercial has been showing, the Android version of FaceTime. It's like,
I don't know. I haven't actually seen those commercials.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, since day one, what has First done for you? Because they call the Evo First, the first 4G phone. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, whatever. It's like you're living on planet Sprint. Okay. They keep in every friggin' commercial. They point out, oh, we do this too. Only we work with everybody, not just us. And we work over your mobile connection, not just Wi-Fi. It's like, I honestly think Apple fanboys are really beginning to hope that that's AT&T and that the iPhone will come free sometime in the next 3 months because, although that will tell, it's like right now Apple can point the invisible finger at AT&T and AT&T can point the invisible finger at Apple. So it's like when that little partnership ends, that's going to end. Okay, well, wait a minute for James to come back.
One more piece of news that I noticed was that yesterday, Eric Schmidt showed off the Nexus S with gingerbread. Did you see that?
Yeah. But there's no talk about whether or not there's going to be an official another Nexus phone or anything, or they were just showing off gingerbread. They weren't talking on that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess fair enough. But he did say that he was. I just thought it was funny that he was qualifying. He said, "I said there wouldn't be a Nexus 2. I didn't say there wouldn't be a Nexus S." Like, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I know. We need another Nexus phone, but who knows if we're gonna get one. Hello?
At this point, I guess,
Hello? James is going bye-bye. I'm hesitant about whether or not we should pause or whether or not we should just keep going.
I'd say pause.
Yeah, we'll pause a minute, let him come back. There he is! He's come back!
I had a phone call that I had to answer. What were you guys talking about?
Oh, we were just kind of babbling about, you know, Nexus S's and gingerbread.
but I'm actually surprised, personally, that the Nexus S came out, and I'm also...
They're not...
I remember...
Not out yet.
Yeah, they're not saying it's going to be an official Google phone or anything, you know.
Right, which is the thing I'm worried about. And honestly, I've seen the specs for it. Alright, right, they did post the specs, right?
There's on yeah.
Yeah, that Samsung thing.
And it doesn't look that amazing, so...
Well, honestly, I look up on this thing, and especially since if this was going to be an official Google phone, you know, that's what they would have said. They wouldn't have said, "Oh, you know, we didn't say." No, they like tiptoed around it, which means they're like, "Here's how I look at the Nexus S." You remember there was the Droid, and then there was the Droid 2 that was capitalizing on the Droid name, but really the next Droid phone is the Droid X. And then so it's like there's the Droid, and then the Droid, and then there's the next progression of the Droid. This is what I see happening here. I think this thing has been named Nexus to take advantage of the Nexus name. But I don't think it's a next Nexus phone.
That was kind of what I was thinking for a while, but there's also been released photos of this device, leaked photos of it. It looks like the one that Eric Schmidt had, and it actually had the Google branding like you see on the back of the Nexus One.
Yeah, well, but you know, if we're honest about that, my G1 has Google branding.
Does it?
Yes, on the back of my G1 it says Google. Yes. Yeah, let's see. What does it say? Right here. Back of my G1. Right there.
Well,
says Google.
I mean, as far as Google, what Google branding mean, what they say about the Nexus One is because it didn't have any other branding besides Google.
But it did have HTC on the bottom. Like,
did it?
Yeah. No, it says.
I mean, my phone. Right here, it says with Google too.
Well, and honestly, what I'm looking on that phone more as too, and I think the reason Schmidt had it was because they've killed the Nexus line. So it doesn't look right anytime they're demoing, you know, anytime they're demoing Android features. It's not appropriate anymore to be doing it on a Nexus One. And the reason is because you can't buy a Nexus One. So they're saying, oh, this magical feature works perfectly on a phone you can't buy, nobody sells, and nobody has. It's like, does that make any sense at all to do from a marketing standpoint? It's like, it doesn't. So they're going to find something with close specs, which admittedly this thing is, that you can buy today, and do that. You know, at the I.O. conferences, it was the Evo. Now it's this one. It's like, this is what they're going to be doing. Every time Google makes an announcement, they're going to have this new phone either fixing to come out or just came out to encourage you to want to buy it. And that's what they're going to demo stuff on. Because that makes more sense from a marketing standpoint. So, since we've...
I would so love the idea of a new member to the Nexus line, even if it is not as...
You know, I don't care if it's called Nexus, but I want a successor to the Nexus. I want another stuff.
There was also a leak on Best Buy's website where they were advertising that this thing would be pure Google. So, if that's the case, then the Nexus One the Nexus S should really be a successor to the Nexus One.
It was